Have you ever felt like you've messed up so badly that there's no coming back? That you've missed your chance and it's over? If so, I want to talk to you today because we re-dive into a powerful truth that can change everything. God is the God of second chances. We're going to look at the ancient book of Joshua, and you might be surprised at how relevant its lessons are for our lives right now. It's a book filled with stories of faith, courage, obedience, and the beautiful reality of God's grace, even when we are weak. One of the first big ideas we see in Joshua is this: divine power does not cancel out human responsibility. God promises us victory. He promises to be with us. But that doesn't mean we just sit back and do nothing. The Bible tells us in James 4, submit yourselves then to God. Resist the devil and he will flee from you. God's promises require our participation. Faith and our actions, our obedience, are designed to work together. It's a partnership, and this is where the theme of second chances really shines. Think about it. The people of Israel had a chance to enter the promised land, but they failed. Their unbelief and fear cost them their first opportunity. They wandered in the wilderness for 40 long years. But did God give up on them? Absolutely not. 40 years later, a new generation stood at the same border, and this time, God gave them another chance, and they succeeded. This story is for you and me. When we fail, when we fall short, God's mercy doesn't run out. He is always ready to offer forgiveness and a new beginning. Let's look at how Joshua approached this second chance. He learned from the past. He remembered the catastrophic failure that came from the report of the first 12 spies. So this time, he acted with wisdom. He sent just 2 spies to scout the land. This wasn't a lack of faith. It was wise cooperation with God's plan. They were gathering information, doing their part, while trusting God to do His. This shows us, again, that God uses our human effort combined with His divine power. And this is where the story gets really interesting. These 2 spies end up in a very unexpected place, the home of a woman named Rahab. Now, Rahab was a harlot, living in a deeply corrupt and pagan city. By all worldly standards, she was the last person you'd expect to find faith in. But a spark of true faith had been ignited in her heart. Listen to her words to the spies. For the Lord your God, He is God in heaven above and on earth beneath. In the middle of all that darkness, she recognized the one true God. Now, were her actions perfect? No. She lied to protect the spies, and her past was full of sin. But God didn't focus on her imperfections. He saw her growing faith. She hung a scarlet cord from her window, a sign for the Israelite army to spare her and her family. This simple cord has become a powerful symbol for us, pointing to the blood of Christ, the ultimate sign of our salvation and our second chance. Through her faith, Rahab was not only saved, but she was transformed and brought into the family of God, even becoming an ancestor of Jesus Christ. What an incredible story of redemption! But Rahab isn't the only one. There's another fascinating story in Joshua about a group of people called They heard about the power of God and were terrified. But instead of turning to God in open faith like Rahab, they used deception. They pretended to be from a far-off land to trick Joshua into making a peace treaty with them. Joshua made a mistake here. He didn't stop to ask God for guidance, but he had made an oath, and he kept his word. The Gibeonites were spared, but they had to become servants. You might think that's where their story ends, a consequence of their deceit. But it's not. Centuries later, after the exile, we see the descendants of the Gibeonites helping to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. God's mercy redeemed their story. 2, even though they came to God through deception, their desire to be spared led them into the community of His people, where they eventually found a place of service and restoration. When you compare Rahab and the Gibeonites, you see a beautiful pattern. Both acknowledged God's power. Both used deceit, showing their human brokenness. Both desperately sought mercy. And most importantly, Both received grace. Both became part of God's people in time and their own unique ways. Their stories shout a clear message. God's grace and mercy are available to anyone who seeks them, no matter how flawed their journey is. So, what does this mean for us? Right here, right now. We all fail. We all have our own Jericho walls and our own Gibeonite deceptions. Maybe it's a short temper, a struggle with an appetite or a bad habit, a moment of lust, or just overwhelming discouragement. But here's the good news. God never gives up on us. When even the smallest spark of faith begins to grow in our hearts, God sees it and He nurtures it. The Bible says that true faith is shown in our actions. James 2:25 even mentions Rahab as an example of faith that works. Salvation is by faith, and that faith naturally expresses itself through love and obedience. Perhaps the most personal and relatable story of a second chance is Peter. This was a man who sincerely loved Jesus. He boldly declared he would die for him. But when the pressure was on, he failed miserably, denying he even knew Jesus 3 times. Can you imagine the weight of that failure? The shame, the regret. But was that the end for Peter? No! After the resurrection, Jesus found Peter and restored him. He didn't lecture him or shame him. He gently asked, "Do you love me?" And then he gave him a new mission. Feed my sheep. Jesus didn't just forgive Peter. He recommissioned him. He gave him a second chance to fulfill his purpose. Peter's story proves that our failures are never final when we are willing to accept God's grace. And that same offer is extended to you today. God is still the God of second chances. That's not just a nice phrase. It's the living, breathing reality of His character. It doesn't matter what you've done, where you've been, or how many times you've fallen. Whether you've broken promises, lost your way, or feel like your faith is gone, He can restore you. His grace is powerful enough to pardon your past, transform your present, and give you the strength to start brand new. Just like He did for Rahab, for the Gibeonites, and for Peter. He is waiting to do for you. All you have to do is turn to Him. Your second chance is waiting. Thank you so much for watching. If this message resonated with you, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this. We'd love to have you as part of our community. May we lift each other up with love and humility. God bless you always.